What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best volcanic fissure of the snaking berserker build in PoE 3.26. This build is incredibly fast, tanky, and overall one of the most powerful league starters that you can choose. By utilizing warcries, it empowers fiery slams that not only chase enemies down but also leave behind the molten fissure, which boosts our DPS massively. When enemies come into contact with the fissures, they will trigger massive explosive eruptions that deal devastating fire damage. This build will take you from campaign all the way through defeating the toughest endgame bosses and tackling the most challenging maps in the Atlas of the Worlds. This guide will be divided into 5 main sections. First, we will go over the essential details that you need to know about the build and your Ascendancy path. Then we will dive into leveling from level 1 to 67, where I will provide you with the most optimized gear, gems, skills, and everything else you need to know. Then following that we will cover early maps, red maps, and finally the endgame setup. However, if you prefer to follow a structured path, be sure to check out my path of building link in the description, where you can select each section as you progress. And before we continue, thanks to the U4GM, they are a pro website that offers Path of Exile currency, items, and even boosting at some of the cheapest prices on the market. Their service is quick, customer support is responsive, and with over 11,000 positive reviews, they've become one of the best marketplaces for PoE players. If you need few extra chaos orbs, a mirror, or if you're looking to buy gear to finish your build faster, then they've got you covered. So check them out by clicking my link in the description, and make sure to use my discount code KAID for extra 5% off. Let's kick things off with an overview of the volcanic fissure of the snaking build. This setup shines with a unique playstyle, focusing on tankiness while delivering very high damage output. The core mechanic revolves around the warcries, which enhances your slams and creates molten fissures that deal very significant fire damage. As you progress, this build allows you to sustain your defensives through the endurance charges, which provides additional damage reduction. The combination of tankiness and range makes you incredibly versatile in both solo and group play. The build's ability to generate explosive eruptions from the fissures will ensure that you will be dealing with multiple enemies effectively, which makes this perfect for both leveling and the endgame content. Now let's talk about your Ascendancy path, which is one of the most important parts of the build. For this setup, the Berserker is hands down the best choice. It gives us incredible offensive power, while also helping with the sustain through the rage and the warcry mechanics. Here's the order that you'll want to take your nodes. First, you want to start with the Crave of the Slaughter. This gives you access to rage generation, which is very crucial early on. Rage increases your attack speed, movement speed, and damage, basically turning you into a rampaging machine. Then next, take the Rite of Ruin. This node will enhance your rage significantly, making its bonus even stronger. With this, you will gain not only more damage and speed, but also less damage taken when you're at max rage. After that, go for the Warbringer. This is a core part of the build. It causes your warcries to instantly grant life and mana, which massively will boost your survivability in the combat. You'll be using warcries consistently, so having them also heal you will make a huge difference in both mapping and the boss fights. Finally, take the aspect of the Carnage. This node will give you a massive 40% more damage, which is just insane, though you will take a bit more damage in return. Luckily, with all of the life leech, endurance charges, and the warcry support, you will be more than durable enough to handle the trade-off. So together, these 4 nodes will give you a perfect blend of the high damage, speed, sustain, and utility. Next, let's move over to leveling. From level 1 to 67, you will want to focus on optimizing your gear and skills. Early on, prioritize items that provide physical damage increases and survivability through the life and resistances. As you progress, gear like the KaidGames Supremacy will become essential due to its high physical damage and the synergy with the build. For your skill gems, begin with the Thunder and transition into the volcanic fissure of the snaking as soon as you can. Make sure to link your damage skills with the warcry support gems to maximize your damage output. Additionally, using Life Leech support gem will help you to sustain life during the tough fights. Most of the players will go straight to the path of building, so I won't waste your time explaining basic things. But in short, to follow this build, simply select your current progression path down here. For example, we will take level 38 to 67, so we select that here, then click on the skills, and then select the same 38 to 67 right here. And then finally go to the items and select the leveling gear, and here everything will be simply shown to you. From level 1 to 12, this is how your tree will look like. Then as for skills, we go with the Ground Slam as an active skill, and then for supports we get the Rootless and the Chance to Bleed. Then get Blood and Sand and the Frostblink with no supports. Then next we get the War Banner with Intimidating Cry. Then next we have Leap Slam with Decoy Totem. And lastly we use the Shield Charge. Then from level 12 to 23, this is how your tree will look like. And then for skills we use Southern with close combat and rage. Next we get the Blood and Sand with the War Banner and the Herald of the Ash. Next we have the Frost Blink and Intimidating Cry with no supports. Then we use the Leap Slam with the faster attacks. And lastly we get the Blood Rage with no supports. Next we got level 23 to 38, and this is how your tree will look like. And then for skills, here we will use the Southern with the close combat, melee physical damage and rage. Then next we got Blood and Sand with the War Banner and the Herald of the Ash. Then Intimidating Cry with auto exertion and the Seismic Cry. Then Frost Blink with no supports. Then also the Leap Slam with the faster attacks. And then finally the Blood Rage with no supports. And now lastly we have level 38 to 67, in which this is how the tree should look like. And then when we take a look at the skills, we will use the Volcanic Fissure of the Snaking with melee physical damage, Fist of War and overexertion. Then Blood and Sand with the Herald of the Ash. Then Intimidating Cry with auto exertion, Seismic Cry and the Rallying Cry. And next we got Infernal Cry with the Mana Leech, Enduring Cry and the Urgent Orders. Then again we keep the Frost Blink by itself. Then we get the Leap Slam with the faster attacks. And lastly we got the Blood Rage with no supports. And then for the items at this point, the only thing that we should start thinking about is our weapon and the flasks. So for weapon set 1 we want the Val Axe, while for the weapon set 2 we get the Splinter Tower Shield. Then next up, once you reach the early maps, our focus should shift slightly. Gear upgrade should still include physical damage increases, but now you also want to look for items that provide elemental resistances and armor. This is crucial as you start encountering tougher monsters. Also, we need to ensure that our skill gems are fully leveled and linked appropriately for the optimal DPS. The Intimidating Cry and the Infernal Cry will be your best friends during this phase, by providing a significant boost in damage and survivability. So for our tree, this is how it should look like. On the chest we want the Volcanic Fissure of the Snaking with the Pulverize, Overexertion and the Fist of War. Then on helmet we got the Infernal Cry with the Urgent Orders, Mana Leech and the Life Leech. Then for Frost Blink we got the Blood and Sand. Then for gloves we don't want any active skills besides the supports to cast when damage taken. Then for weapon we got the Seismic Cry with Intimidating Cry, Auto Exertion, Rallying Cry and the Punishment. Then for Leap Slam we got the faster attacks and the Herald of Ash. Next we got the Enduring Cry with the Urgent Orders. And lastly we have also Punishment with no supports. Next up we have items, and for the weapon we want to go with the Sarah Roar, the Val Axe. Then for head get the Conqueror's Helmet, and by the way you can see all of their bonuses right here. Then for body armor get the Legion Plate, and for gloves we want the Precursor's Gauntlets. Then for boots get the Brimstone Threads. Then for amulet get the Turquoise Amulet. Then for ring 1 get the Chaos Resistance Ring. And then for ring 2 get the Amethyst Ring. And then for belt we also want the Heavy Belt. And lastly for both sockets get the Crimson Jewels. Next up, as you transition into the red maps, the difficulty will ramp up. This is where your build's tankiness will really shine, so focus on achieving very high elemental resistance and maxing out your armor. Utilize your warcries effectively to keep your endurance charges up. This will not only enhance your damage, but also provide crucial damage reduction. Look for high rolled gear and prioritize crafting your flasks. And prioritize affixes that grant increased charges or the elemental resistance. In the red maps you also want to be mindful of the map modifiers and avoid any that can severely hinder your damage output or survivability. However, I won't go super into detail about this setup, as a lot of stuff will stay the same as in the early maps. And now last but not least, let's dive into the endgame build. At this stage, your focus should shift towards maximizing your damage and survivability against the toughest bosses and the map encounters. You should aim to have a well-rounded build, featuring very high damage output combined with significant defenses. Utilize Echoes of Creation for that extra damage boost, but be cautious of its life cost, so make sure that your defenses can handle it. I recommend to implement the spell suppression to reduce incoming spell damage further, and keep your warcries on the cooldown to maintain those vital endurance charges. In the endgame, the build can handle the pinnacle bosses and the most difficult maps, which makes this very versatile choice for any player. So let's take a quick glance at our tree, and this is how it should look like. Then next we have endgame skills, and most of the things we want to keep the same as in the early maps version, we just have very few slight changes. But then lastly and most importantly, in the item section, here is the place where we can either way make or break the build. So for weapon set 1 we have the Val Axe, while for weapon set 2 we got the Camo's Primacy. Then next we have the helmet called Echoes of Creation. Then for body armor we got the Pain Hide. Then for gloves, we want the ripped nails. Then for boots, get the ghoul march. Then for amulet, we want the defiance of destiny. Then for ring 1, get dire grip. While for ring 2, we want the Empyrean twirl. Then for belt, get the Stygian vice, while for the abyssal, we want the murderous eye javel. And then lastly, we have our passive tree sockets. And for them, we mainly want to get 1 timeless javel, 5 cluster javels, and 1 crimson javel, 1 prismatic javel, and 1 cobalt javel. Now let's take a moment to discuss the gameplay mechanics. Effective use of your warcries and maintaining your endurance charges will ensure that you're dealing maximum damage while staying alive. Always be on the lookout for opportunities to utilize your fiery slams in the conjunction with the fissures. The visual clarity of your surroundings can sometimes be a challenge due to the molten fissures, so managing your positioning and awareness will be key. Remember, your goal is to create chaos on the battlefield while keeping yourself safe from the onslaught of the enemies. But besides that, this build is quite simple, just plug and play. So, let me know what you think about this build in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then you definitely don't want to miss my previous top 10 best builds video, where I showed even more powerful builds. So click the screen now and I'll see you in the next one.